Almost everybody paid attention to the chime. That's good. Good morning. Today, with the ringing of our peace bowl, we affirm our collective hope for peace. Peace in our community, peace in our nation, peace in our world. We also acknowledge that these lands that we love are the ancestral home of the Yavapai people. And there was probably not too much peace when those lands were disappropriated. Today we have a bunch of announcements, but before the announcements, we're going to have our gathering music by the Granite Peak Singers, Love is a Light. Very nice. Good morning and welcome to Granite Peak Unitarian Universalist Congregation here in Prescott, Arizona. My name is Jack Wood. I'm the worship associate today, and a warm welcome to all of you. I woke up today and thought, worship associate, what should I wear? And I looked at my Apple phone and it said that the temperature was 47 degrees, but it felt like 33 or 39. And we're going to have a slight breeze of 34 miles an hour. So I thought, a parka, yes. We're glad that you are all able to join us and hope that you are all in good health. And for those dozen people or so watching on Zoom, hello. We wish you all good health as well. This is the mission statement of our congregation. We are a compassionate spiritual community that celebrates diversity, nurtures the personal and spiritual growth of all ages, shares our gifts, promotes justice for all, and serves the world we live in. If you are joining us for the first time, please check out our website at prescottuu.org for more information about us. And if you're here in person, there'll be time to introduce yourself shortly. Believe me, that's true. And we invite you to please stay after the service and chat with a member or two. There are usually refreshments in Davis Hall, that's here, to enjoy together after the service. But there is a very important informational budget meeting today, beginning shortly after today's service, here in this room. So coffee hour has not been canceled, but it's been shortened from coffee hour to a 20-minute coffee break. So after the service, you don't have to leave immediately. You can get a cup of coffee, enjoy that quickly, return to the seats, and settle in for a, informative discussion about the budget. We thank our pianist, Bina Eubin. We also thank Karen Denny, who's leading our very own Granite Peak Singers today. Thanks also to Martin Bramhall on our media board. There's Martin. Brian Willison, our Sunday management coordinator, and all of our Sunday morning volunteers. Now, I'd like you to take a moment to please silence your phones. I'm sure that they're already silenced, but you know, if they go off, there's a $10 donation. Okay, announcements. In addition to the announcements that were not shown on the screen before the service, you can read about things happening here at Granite Peak in the weekly Peak newsletter, on our website, and we have some printed copies, maybe, of the announcements out in the lobby. In the order of service, too. Okay. Sandra Palacios is our Faith Development Coordinator. She's teaching younger kids over in our Faith Development building across the way. And this is what she's doing. She corralled me as I was coming in and said, "Are you really the worship coordinator?" I said, "Yeah, I'm afraid so." So she said, "Please give the group this message. The first Sunday in May is World Laughter Day." Who knew? I guess the Jedi Master knew. A celebration that raises awareness all about the benefits of laughing and promotes world peace through laughter. Students of Faith Development will take part in World Laughter Day and help spread positivity and cheerfulness in a way that could help change the world. That would be great. This day is about happiness, peace, laughing and sharing. Laughter is an exercise through laughing. So she has two jugs here. What do you call a polar bear in Hawaii? There should be a drum roll. Lost. Exactly. And how come hyenas are healthy? Because laughter is the best medicine. You guys are really good. And she has a quote from Frida Kahlo: "Nothing is worth more than laughter. It's strength to laugh and abandon oneself, to be light." So thank you, Sandra. I also have a request from Bev for 59 seconds. She said it'll be less than a minute to talk about the directory.
I don't know.
Oh, no. 33, 32.
Thank you very much, Bev.
Laugh. Hi, thank you for your patience. I'm Bev, and my wonderful compadre, Chris Hawthorne, and I have been working on the directory, I promise, but he keeps getting new members, so of course I keep taking pictures. Okay. Oh, there's Ed. Hi, Ed. Thank you.
Very informative as usual. I knew I forgot something, but that's okay. We begin our service in the Unitarian Universalist tradition of lighting the chalice. Our chalice lighter this morning is, who wants to volunteer? Fred Craps, you've got it. And if your phone goes off, you don't have to pay the $10 donation.
Yeah, and I didn't get to practice either.
Good luck.
Thank you, Fred. It is one of those electric candles, you realize. Today we light the chalice with these words. We light this chalice, a symbol of our heritage and gratitude for this beloved community. And another chance at humor. Okay, thank you very much. Oh,
You want me to welcome?
I'm sorry.
I think we have any.
I skipped right past that.
You get a free pin, Jack.
Thank you. It's a going away pen.
If we happen to have anybody who's here for the first time, and if you're brave enough to do so, you can raise your hand and tell us your name and where you're from. Looking around, there's a hand. All right. We have a gift for you. Right, and your name is Carol Miller, and where are you from, Carol? Well, I moved from Boulder, Colorado. All right, good choice. You grew up in the Iowa-Minnesota border. You were a farmer, I imagine? Yeah. Norwegian farmer. Oh, welcome. Good to have you here. Welcome. And you've moved here now, so just between you and me, this is the best church in town. Okay. Other visitors? Anybody else? Oh, there's a hand. Sandy, where are you from? From Prescott. Were you born and raised in Prescott? No, where were you born? Pardon?
Wisconsin, Illinois, Colorado.
And here. A moving west towards excellence. Yes, great. Barbara, can you hand her? There's a gift for you. Good to have you here. Welcome. Any other visitors? If you're a visitor and you don't want to raise your hand, you don't have to, but you don't get a free pin. And it's wonderful to have everyone here, and this is going to be so exciting to have the budget meeting after the service. So I hope you all stay for that. It'll be great. You don't want to just let the Finance Committee make these decisions. We're a congregational polity, and so you all have responsibility.
Okay. We have a responsive reading now.
So I really love the readings in this hymnal, and rather than picking a hymnal out from someplace else, I picked two this time for all of us to read together. And the first one is number 442, We Bid You Welcome, by Richard Gilbert. Richard Gilbert's a retired minister, and it was his book about the economy and theology that got me to think about these issues in the first place. But he was much more than a man who taught about the economy. He also is a very good writer. So I invite you to join with me. You read the italicized words. We bid you welcome, who come with weary spirit seeking rest. We bid you welcome, who come with hope in your heart. We bid you welcome, who are seekers of a new faith. We bid you welcome, who enter this hall as a homecoming. Whoever you are, whatever you are, wherever you are on your journey, we bid you welcome. Let's turn in the hymnal now to sing our opening hymn, number 361. Enter, rejoice, and come in. And stand as you're able to do so. Enter, rejoice, and come in. Enter, rejoice, and come in. Today will be a joyful day. Enter, rejoice, and come in. Open your ears to the song. Open your ears to the song. I could sing that every Sunday at the beginning of the service. Let's join together in our covenant, which is printed in the order of service. Love is the doctrine of this congregation. The quest for truth is its sacrament, and service is its prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge and freedom, to serve others in community. Thus do we covenant together.
We're going to take the offertory in a few moments, but often when I have the privilege of being the worship associate, I look for a poem that I think might tie in with the day's service, and I will usually find a couple and send them over to Reverend Roger, and he'll say, "Are you crazy?" And then I'll send another one, and they'll say, "Yeah, sure, go ahead." So today we have a short poem that I'll read. It's called Money Madness. It was written by somebody named D.H. Lawrence. What did he write? Lady Chatterley's Lover, I think? So maybe, no, the poem doesn't have to do with money madness that way. But anyway, he wrote it in the 1920s. He died, and I guess it was posthumously published in 1932. So it's about 100 years old. Money is our madness, our vast collective madness. And of course, if this multitude is mad, the individual carries his own grain of insanity with him. I doubt if any man living hands out a pound note without a pang, and a real tremor if he hands out a 10-pound note. We quail. Money makes us quail. It has got us down. We grovel before it in strange terror. And no wonder, for money has a fearful, cruel power among men. But it is not money we are so terrified of. It is the collective money madness of mankind. For mankind says with one voice, "How much is he worth? Has he no money? Let him eat dirt and go cold." And if I have no money, they will give me a little bread so I do not die. But they will make me eat dirt with it. I shall have to eat dirt. I shall have to eat dirt if I have no money. It is that I am frightened of. And that fear can become a delirium. It is fear of my money-mad fellow men. We must have some money to save us from eating dirt. And this is all wrong. Bread should be free. Shelter should be free. Fire should be free. To all and anybody, all over the world. We must regain our sanity about money before we start killing one another over it. It is one thing or the other. Wonderful words to begin the offertory. As we prepare to take the offering this morning, let us embrace the feeling of connection and community that we have when we gather here each week. Let us remember that this congregation and its programs are supported by your generosity. We also give back to the greater community through our Seeds of Support program. This month's recipient is the Granite Peak Food Pantry. And I will read to you a little bit about the Granite Peak Food Pantry. It began out of necessity during COVID-19 to help support people in our neighborhood. The need for food, and more particularly for toiletries, has continued to expand since then. Between March and December of 2021, we served 136 people. In 2024, we served 1,469 individuals and families. I know, I read that. I thought, I got to share this with the congregation. The need increases, but we've recently lost a major food supplier because we are not willing to keep and submit records that include personal information about our customers. So I guess Elon Musk has been in town. We are now asking our congregants to step in and help us as we work to identify some other sources of food. We need canned and packaged foods, toiletries, deodorant, toothpaste, shampoo, toilet paper, and paper towels. Please note that we cannot distribute foods that are just past their expiration date or that have been opened. Your support, whether financially or with direct contributions, is very much appreciated. You can leave pantry donations in the lobby outside here during office hours or at the Sunday service, or come by on Fridays from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. in the Faith Development Building, say hello to the friendly volunteers, and see what's going on. And today, we take our offertory. And Lena will provide us with offertory music. heavy. That's a good sign. We acknowledge the generosity of spirit expressed through this offering. What is given in love is received in gratitude. Blessed be. We move to the joys and concerns portion of our service today. Our beloved community is the heart of Granite Peak Unitarian Universalist congregation. As we experience a time of meditation and music, we'll take a few moments to silently acknowledge the joys and concerns in our hearts and our minds. If there is an event that moves you to joy or concern, hope or gratitude, I invite you to come forward silently and drop a pebble into our bowls here of communal water as an affirmation of our connection to one another. May our joys and concerns, surrounded by the healing communal water of our beloved community, be acknowledged here today. So may it be.
And I invite you to turn in the hymnal to the second responsive reading, number 584. We are caught in an inescapable network of mutuality, tied in a single garment of destiny. There are some things in our social system to which all of us ought to be maladjusted. We must evolve for all human conflict a method which rejects revenge, aggression, and retaliation. Before it is too late, we must narrow the gaping chasm between our proclamations of peace and our lowly deeds, which precipitate and perpetuate war. We must pursue peaceful ends through peaceful means. Thank you. So the sociologist Max Weber in German or Weber in English, published his book, The Protestant Ethic and the Spirit of Capitalism, back in 1905. He argued that Protestant ethics and values, the ethics and values preached by clergy such as Martin Luther, and John Calvin, caused the rise and spread of capitalism. According to the Protestant work ethic, through our work, all of us have noble vocations that we fulfill through diligence, discipline, and dedication. The wealth that comes to us is God's reward for us for our hard work. Protestant clergy use passages from the Bible to support this work ethic. For example, the Apostle Paul in 2 Thessalonians said, "If anyone is not willing to work, let him not eat." Observers of American religion developed one branch of the Protestant ethic that they now call the prosperity theology or prosperity gospel. This is one branch of this idea. According to prosperity theology, financial success is evidence of divine grace and the blessings from God. Worldly wealth is a sign that God thinks you are a virtuous person. Poverty is a moral failure, a sign of laziness and lack of ambition. In the last century, this philosophy was a key part of the teachings of clergy such as Norman Vincent Peale and Robert Schuller. They promised, "Follow our religion, and you will become better off financially." This theological belief that getting rich is evidence that God likes you has reached the White House. On February 7th, the president announced the creation of the White House Faith Office. Pastor Paula White, a proponent of prosperity theology, leads the office. Now, I have a different view of economics and theology. And in the unlikely event that the president, the vice president, members of Congress, and Elon Musk invite me to advise them, I just have this fantasy of all of them sitting out there. I would read to the president, the vice president, to members of Congress, and to Mr. Musk a few passages from the New Testament. The author of the Gospel of Luke wrote, Jesus said, "How hard is it for the rich to enter the kingdom of God? Indeed, it is easier for a camel to pass through the eye of a needle than for a rich man to enter the kingdom of God." And in another place, the author of Luke wrote, "And he said to them, 'Watch out, guard yourself against every form of greed, for one's life does not consist in the abundance of his possessions.'" And still another place, the author of Luke wrote, "No servant can serve two masters. Either he will hate one and love the other, or he will be devoted to one and despise the other. You cannot serve both God and money." The author of the Gospel of Matthew quotes Jesus as saying, "Do not store up for yourselves treasures on earth, where moth and rust destroy, and where thieves break in and steal, but store up for yourself treasures in heaven, where moth and rust do not destroy, where thieves do not break in and steal. For where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. And in 1 Timothy it says, those who want to be rich, however, fall into temptation and become ensnarled by many foolish and harmful desires that plague them into ruin and destruction. For the love of money is the root of all evil. By craving it, some have wandered away from the faith and pierced themselves with many sorrows. Now, as I'm addressing Congress, to the Jews in the groups, I would quote Ecclesiastes. He who loves money is never satisfied by money. He who loves wealth is never satisfied. And to our Catholic vice president, I would quote the Roman Catholic bishops in their letter on economic justice. They wrote that the needs of the poor should have priority over the wants of the rich. So when it comes to core religious documents, the evidence is clear. While they encourage us to work with diligence and dedication, they also suggest that excessive money will not make us happy. And because we're Unitarians, we now turn to modern research on happiness. One study says that in the United States in 2025, at a yearly income of about $110,000, happiness tops out. On average, people who earn more do not say that they feel happier compared to those who earn about $110,000. I've never made $110,000. I've always been pretty happy. After reaching that point, most Americans say what makes them feel happier is good health and positive connections with friends and family. Now, in the unlikely event that I am invited to advise the President, the Vice President, members of Congress, and Elon Musk on the topic of economics and theology, I would go on to say that I do not believe in prosperity gospel. I do not believe that great wealth is a sign that God loves you. Over half the persons on the Forbes magazine list of the richest people in America inherited their wealth. They were simply lucky to be born into a wealthy family. I believe that an unjust economic system causes poverty. I believe greedy persons create and maintain this unjust system. I believe this illness of greed is at the root of our economic problems. I would tell our leaders that I do not believe in the excesses of capitalism. I do believe in capitalism. I believe in competition in the marketplace. Nevertheless, I believe government laws should protect us from the excesses, the extremes of a free market. In a good society, no one should go without basic food, shelter, clothing, or health care. And in a good society, laws should limit how much wealth any one person can accumulate. I would tell our leaders about something called the fairness ratio. And I first heard about the fairness ratio in this book by the Unitarian Universalist minister Richard Gilbert. In the 1990s, he wrote a book called How Much Do We Deserve? Reverend Gilbert got the idea of the fairness ratio from the economists Lester Thoreau and Robert Halbernan. This is based on the ratio between the income of the top 20%. I'm going to make you work here for a second. The income of the top 20% and the bottom 20% of the population. They suggested that our goal should be to establish a 5-to-1 distribution ratio. This would mean that the average yearly income in the top 20% of the population would not be more than 5 times larger than the average income of the bottom 20% of the population, a fairness ratio. How do we achieve a fairness ratio, 5-to-1? The answer is a progressive income tax. Said our economist sitting next to me. The fairness ratio, or something like it, was the basic idea behind the 1913 Federal Income Tax Amendment to the United States Constitution. I would remind our president, our vice president, the members of Congress, and Elon Musk of the origins of our income tax. It was back on June 16th, 1909, that the Republican Unitarian president, William Howard Taft, in an address to Congress, proposed a federal income tax. And it took Congress only 4 weeks to pass his proposal. July 12th, 1909, Congress passed the resolution proposing the 16th Amendment and submitting it to the state legislatures. 4 years later, it was passed. Supporters of the income tax believed that it would be a much better method of gathering revenue than tariffs. Tariffs, which were the primary source of revenue at the time. Inflation was high, and many blamed federal tariffs for the rising prices. So on February 25th, 1913, the Secretary of State proclaimed that 3/4 of the states had ratified the amendment, and it became part of our Constitution. Congress enacted the Revenue Act of 1913, which greatly lowered tariffs and started a federal income tax. Now, between 1914 and 1980, inequities in income and wealth decreased in the United States. When I hear the words, "Make America Great Again," I think, yes, I would like to go back to the good old days when we had a truly progressive income tax. The top tax rate for federal income tax, that is the rate applied to the very highest incomes, was 77% in 1918, and eventually reached 94% in 1944. From 1933 to 1980, nearly half a century, the average top rate applied to the highest incomes was 81%. The 81% tax rate affected only a very small number of people, the richest 1% of our country. Now, while not perfect, this progressive income tax moved us in the direction of the 5-to-1 fairness ratio. Today, the situation is completely different. Because of changes in the tax laws over the last 45 years, the wealthiest people sometimes succeed in paying taxes at rates lower than those paid by the middle and lower classes. When Congress cut the top tax rate in half a few years ago, they announced that their goal was to boost economic growth. In fact, economic growth fell by half. Instead, there was a strong growth in the largest fortunes of the ultra-wealthy segment of our population. At the same time, the refusal of Congress to raise the federal minimum wage has resulted in the decline of the lowest incomes. Now, in the unlikely event that I am invited to advise the President, members of Congress, the Vice President, Elon Musk, on the topic of economics and theology, I would strongly encourage them to restore the progressive nature of the federal income tax, and to raise the federal minimum wage, and to lower tariffs. This can make America great again. It would also follow the teachings of Jesus as described in the New Testament. Now, sadly, I must report that our country's leaders have not invited me to talk to them about theology and economics. Instead, on January 20th, extremely wealthy Americans lined up behind a new president after contributing vast sums to his inaugural parties. The very rich are in charge. This coming summer, as prices of goods go up because of tariffs, Congress will be considering a bill that will remove between 5 and 20 million. This is all very vague right now, but they're going to remove between 5 and 20 million people off Medicaid, the health care program for children and adults with limited resources. The bill will also take food away from millions. The proposal is cutting the food stamp program, now called Supplementary Nutrition Assistance Program, or SNAP. The plan is to cut the program from $2 a meal to $1.67 a meal. These cuts will help pay for extending the 2017 tax cuts for the very richest Americans, which right now are set to expire. The plan is to pass this summer this enormous tax cut bill that will increase the national debt and the cost will partially be offset by huge cuts to Medicaid and huge cuts to food assistance. If the bill passes, the rich will get richer, there will be a huge deficit increase, and health care and food will be taken away from the poorest people in our nation. If what they're proposing becomes law, it would be the biggest transfer of wealth from the poor to the rich in a single bill in United States history. However, all of this could fall apart. According to the surveys, the American public's views of the economy have soured. Many people worry that as the super rich get richer, most Americans are headed towards an economic catastrophe. Human beings make changes when our dissatisfaction and our unhappiness with what we have is greater than our fear of change. And I hope that Americans will become dissatisfied and join to pressure our political leaders for change. Many of us cannot completely block off or deny our feelings about unfairness, about the way things are. We have religious questions about the meaning and purpose of life. We acquire a house, we acquire a car, we take our vacations. Still, we feel in our hearts that we cannot be truly happy when others are going hungry. Feeling a basic religious sense that homelessness and poverty are wrong. We help at shelters, we help at soup kitchens, and we urge our government leaders to make changes. Today, as our dissatisfaction with our current situation grows, I believe the chances are better that we will see progress in ending this extreme division of poverty and affluence. Meanwhile, I see the generosity of members of this congregation in organizing help for the poor in this community and in the larger world. what you do voluntarily to fund shelters and to help with food distribution is good and important work. I have a dream that someday the policies of our government and our society will change so that all the shelters and the food pantries will be history. I have a dream that the extremes will disappear, and someday we will all join hands, liberals and conservatives, and walk together through the eye of the needle. Let's sing our closing hymn, number 121, We Build the Land. We'll build a land where we wind up the broken. We'll build a land where the captives go free. The oil of gladness and souls of mourning. Oh, we'll build the promised land that can be. Come, build a land where sisters and brothers, the closing words by my colleague, Reverend Mark Bellatini, who was the chair of the hymnal commission that created this hymnal. Mark wrote, "Do not desire to be wealthier than your peers, and stint not your hand of charity. Practice forbearance. Speak the truth or speak not. Take care of yourselves as bodies, for you are a good gift. Crave peace for all people in the world, beginning with yourselves, and go as you go with the dream of that peace alive in your hearts. Amen. Let's say together the words as we extinguish our chalice. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again.